order, right?
Yes, happy Easter is in order. Good morning, and thank you for staying, even though we're coming to you a bit late. Our apologies, indeed.
Well, sincerely. Amaya Makinde, good morning and welcome.
Oh, Amalero, I do?
Yes, just so you know. That's what happens when you're having fun, or you come late to your you start your program late. Not that we came here late, we start your program late when you're having fun. And then what else do you do?
I don't know.
Okay, well, the members of the National Assembly had something to do, right?
Oh, yes. That thing about the doctors.
Yeah.
That they have to, when they qualify, they have to serve the country for 5 years before they get their licenses.
Okay, well, let me read something from, it was from the House of Representatives at the plenary in the course of the week when they passed a bill that passed through second reading to mandate medical doctors to practice in Nigeria for at least 5 years before moving abroad if they want. Now, it's the proposed legislation is titled the Bill for an Act to amend the Medical and Dental Practitioners Act to mandate any Nigeria-trained medical or dental practitioner to practice in Nigeria for a minimum of 5 years.
Yeah.
Before granted a full license by the council in order to make quality health services available to Nigeria.
I then thought, hallelujah, that can only mean one thing. Government will have to give all medical and dental students scholarships.
Well,
you can only give me a bond to sign or make me, hold me to this if you have paid for my training.
Well, interestingly, one medical practitioner on my contacts list put on WhatsApp status said, if you want doctors to do that, then let there be a law that mandates all legislators to not travel abroad for help.
The menu. Whoa.
Okay, I'm going to call him out. He's a Proco doctor. He said, look, if you want us to do that, no problem. Just also make a law that says you can't travel abroad for medical health as a legislator if you make that law go through.
Wow.
So let's go to the menu. It's a healthy thing to talk about.
I'm still thinking about it. I'm sure this discussion will continue next week.
Yeah. No, it will continue because, I mean, one of our topics today is speaking to that.
Okay. So we're going to start the program by focusing on Election Petitions Tribunal.
Yeah. Now, with all the electoral back and forth we're hearing now, so. And then, of course, it was World Health Day in the course of the week. So let's have a conversation around that. Maybe this will also become relevant.
May come up, yes. And how can we be at a time like this, Easter time, and not talk about Easter?
With all of the things that are going on.
Come on.
Is there a political connotation to Easter?
No, there isn't.
Oh, there is. Pontius Pilate was a politician. Don't even go there.
Pontius Pilate was a politician. Well, he was a governor, yes.
Okay, yes, okay. Lifestyle today, we were supposed to have technology, the good, the bad, and the way forward, but we're going to have to step that down for another time. But of course, there is another aspect that's been heavily influenced by music, by technology, and that is music. We'll be looking at that and its relevance to faith life generally.
And we shall close the program with the Artist of the Week, as is usual on Sunrise. So get your...
Cup of cocoa.
Oh, cocoa.
Oh, if it's Kono this morning, it's fine. It's Easter.
And if it's Frey John, left over from yesterday, it's fine too.
Yeah. I don't know about the Easter egg though. We'll be right back.
Not here. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for staying with us. Interesting to talk about election petitions, tribunals during Easter. But hey, life has to go on, right? So, as expected, political attention is shifting to the courts as aggrieved candidates and political parties and politicians are contested the Nigeria's 2023 general elections are approaching the courts to challenge the outcome of the polls, seek legal remedies, and so on. So
Well, many people have said that it should not be the courts deciding who our rulers should be. It should be the polls.
I agree with you completely. But when the process of registering a complaint or challenging the outcome of the election petition has been laid out according to the laws, we have to do the needful.
I agree.
So, election petitions, tribunals, courts, they have their jobs cut out for them. But what are the things that should be the focus now, as opposed to whatever else is happening right now? That and a number of other things we should be focusing on this morning with Godi Uwazurike, who is a legal practitioner. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you.
And we also have with us joining us.
He's wearing a red cap. Wearing a red cap, Chief.
Chief Godi Uwazurike, Esquire. Is that still
Esquire?
I'm just saying. Thank you for joining us. We'll have another guest joining us, but for now, let's stay with you, Chief. First of all, I mean, the fallout of the elections so far. What's the difference or similarity between what is happening now as a consequence of the elections and what has happened before? This is like the fifth time, so to speak, that we're having this cycle in this republic. We've had previous cases also of contestation of, I don't know if there's been any election that we didn't have, that the results were not contested. How does this experience, this current experience, differ from previous ones?
Well, first and foremost, Jonathan lost in 2015. He conceded.
Yeah.
He didn't go to court. So there was no viciousness. But what we're seeing today is a group of vicious people destroying our psyche, trying to destroy democracy, trying to do everything to derail democracy. Yes, one or two have gone to court, others have made sure you can't go to court. Port Harcourt for one. That place is so bad that the winning party there has made sure nobody could file. Can you imagine a lawyer entering, signing for certified true copies, and inside the INEC office, he is grabbed and taken away. And those documents were never seen again. So that the party has not, no party has actually been able to file anything in the election tribunal in Rivers State. It's that bad.
Well, what's interesting so far, just permit me for butting in, is, I mean, the example you cited of former President Jonathan, that was a presidential election. I'm not sure if it's the same thing for this example you're citing. We've had 5 elections over the past, how many weeks now? We've had presidential, senatorial, and House of Representatives elections. We've had gubernatorial and State House of Assembly elections, all 5 of them. So it's while it seems like we are packing it all together, and it's always been the same throughout this republic. So any difference in the measures that have been taken or should have been taken to prevent what you're describing?
Well, on the part of the government election tribunal, so I prefer to say it that way. The election tribunals have always been there, 1999, 2003, 2007, 2011, 2015, 2019, and this year. In other words, they should have learned what to expect and what not to expect, how to handle it, the various electoral acts and so on. Actually specify some things. But what you see today is the tension. Tension is extremely high. And most people are sure there will be no justice in the tribunals. So they see a kind of gang up by some people who want to destroy our mentality of, let us say, who will govern us.
Which is what made me ask that question in the first place. What's the difference between what is happening now and what has happened before? Before, as you said, we've always had election petition tribunals. We've always had that process of going back to the courts to ensure that that the election was rightly or wrongly conducted. But let's see. I understand our other guest is already with us now. Abdulkaha Abdullahi is a legal practitioner, joins us also virtually this morning from Abuja. Thanks for joining us this morning. We can't hear you. You may want to. We'll come back to you shortly. So that's why I asked that question.
Okay. Oh, there you go.
Okay, welcome. So can you hear me?
Thank you so much for having a program, Charles. Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. Now, if you heard that first question, in your opinion, what's the difference between what we're having now and what we have had before in terms of the post-election activities of politicians and political parties?
There is a thin line between what the electoral process, once you look at the rhetorics of politics outside the tribunals, one can believe that in Nigeria, the political discourse is more or less often characterized by inflammatory statements, and divisive languages and all that. But in actual fact, if I may say, law is entirely different from what is obtainable in the political discourse of Nigeria. So I don't know why people feel like there is a threat to democracy simply because somebody lost an election. I don't know, for whatever reason, why people feel like they need to vent their anger when the system has put in place a process by which aggrieved parties can go to court, institute an action, and challenge the outcome of whatever election that is.
All right. Chief, let me ask you this, because I think we seem to be having some network issues with Mr. Abdullah here. I hope that we can get you back smoother so we don't have to have those hiccups. Let me ask you, Chief. So this is what we have now. This is the situation we find ourselves now. How significantly do you see this whole pre-election petition tribunal environment or moods that have been created? How do you see it affecting or impacting on the entire process of the election petitions tribunals?
There are many ways these moves can affect. One of them is that the new game in town is go to court, get an expert order, sack the chairman, withdraw the petition. It's not entirely new. In 2003, Buhari, as the presidential candidate of ANPP, his party, ANPP, withdrew from the petition and left the man alone. So today, 2023, 20 years after, history is repeating itself. One of those who attempted to take over Labour Party said, I think Adamu Garba, so he said, our main objective is to withdraw the petition against the president-elect. That we're going to do it. On the other hand, you have some places where the documents you need will not be seen, and you have some witnesses going to withdraw. What it actually means is that we may be expecting justice, but there's nothing for the election tribunal to work on. The pre-election trial moves can also come in other ways. They can disturb you in such a way that there is no time, because there's a time limit to file things. So where the time has expired due to the nuances of the winners, then there's nothing there. In simple language, the people will be disappointed because the people expect that the choice of the people will be the governor or the president. The tone is always set by the two leaders, the leading candidates. If one is conciliatory, the other one is ebullient, then there will be need to fight to the end. And there's no justice. There's nothing like draw. It's either a winner or a loser. Then if we have a magnanimous person who has been declared a winner, who will be making efforts to reach out to the other people to say, we are going to run this together. Stay with me.
But okay. This is Mr. Abdullahi. Mr. Abdullahi, are you there?
I am.
Good.
I'm with you.
Now, people have been talking about the timelines for these actions, that all the matters should be dispensed with before a winner, and I'm assuming winner in quotes, before the winner is sworn in. Not that the case is still going on, the winner is sworn in, and then he is told that he has lost and he has to pack his things and go back to his village or whatever. What are your thoughts about that?
Thank you so much. The law is clear. You have, as a petitioner, you have 21 days to institute an action against the respondent. Let's say, for example, you feel like the outcome of the election didn't favor you, or maybe the respondent, as at the time of the election, isn't qualified to contest, or maybe you are alleging election malpractice or non-compliance with the provision of the Electoral Act, or can even allege that the respondent was not duly elected by the majority of lawful votes cast in the election. But then the 21 days, I've never seen anywhere, any tribunal in Nigeria that refused to hear and determine any question as it relates to an election. I have never that has never been to my knowledge, honestly. So now you have 21 days upon which, after the announcement of the winner, to go to court and say, I am challenging the outcome of this election. And then the court, by law, is charged to determine that petition within 180 days. So I don't know where people got the idea that it has to be pre-swearing in or post-swearing in. As a matter of fact, that's the timeline of things, and it's in the Electoral Act.
No, Mr. Abdullahi, it has been suggested that it should be dispensed with before the swearing in, so that whoever is sworn in is the legitimate winner.
It's been suggested by who? Is it the Electoral Act?
Nigerians.
Nigerians.
I mean, look at the case of Amechi, for instance, if you recall. I mean, it was after somebody else had been sworn in that he was now declared the winner, and you know. Like I said, I will still repeat myself again. There is a criteria upon which a petitioner goes about this. And, you don't come around say that you want
this network is not very, very friendly this morning. Mr. Abdullahi, we sincerely we apologize. Sincerely hope that there's a way we can get better connection so that we can really discuss this with you. But I think Chief Wazirike can take that question as well.
Constitutionally, May 29 is the end of administration. So there's no way there will be a vacuum. And then the Electoral Act says within 180 days, this must be done, only in the first instance, not final. So, for instance, the presidential election, Peter Obi and Atiku have 180 days to do certain things. If the judgment comes in any way, whether for or against any of them, the losing party at the Court of Appeal also goes to the Supreme Court. So it's not just the 180 days. There's no way we have 180 days between today and May 29. It's impossible. Because the Constitution did not provide for anything other than elected government taking over. But it's also talked of time to go on appeal and so on and so forth. But developments occur every day. I know that this issue of timing, length of time and so on, is something that has been coming up from time to time. There was a time the Supreme Court saw it as inhibiting the rights of a petitioner. They said, no, leave it open. Now it has been formed as 180 days. We still need to amend the Constitution to provide for, you cannot be sworn in unless the case has been dispensed with. In other words, all cases must be concluded before May 29 of the Supreme Court.
But that's hardly possible, is it?
It is possible if there is a will. For instance, INEC does not have to play what I will call ban logo. In other words, dance left, dance right, and not sure of what they are doing. Election is concluded. Within 1 week, give everybody certified true copies of all the proceedings. During the election, 1 week. So there will be no issue of writing, applying. Remember, Labour had to go as a group to go and meet the chairman before he said, okay, I will do that, but you have to go to various states. And they went to various states. Only 2 responded. The other reason the Electoral Commissioner said, well, we don't have anything, you have to come back. And time was going. So if INEC does its own job within 1 week, petitioners have 1 week, respondents have 1 week, then you give 2 weeks, you get everything done.
Okay, Chief. Now, Chief, I beg your pardon. What's going through my mind now is a funny scenario, and I would want to share this. Okay, so a presidential election has held. Chief, you are declared the winner. I am a contender. I go to court. And then at the end of 180 days, and God knows another 180 days, when the Supreme Court will decide on the matter, Supreme Court now decides, sorry, Chief, we have evidence here that you actually lost the election, and Alero will now become the president. And wouldn't that be rather untidy?
No. If the system is right, in other words, if we value the system, it is the proper thing to do.
So sack Chief and...
The moment that signature is appended by the judges of the Supreme Court and judgment read, you're out. But in reality in Nigeria, the DG of DSS sees it as his job to protect the president from even other candidates. In other words, if I abuse the president-elect, they'll write down my name for investigation. If he becomes president, they will arrest me first and ask me questions later. The police IG knows that he salutes the president every day. So he sees me as the enemy of the state. So when I say where the system is correct, I mean the democracy is entrenched. In Nigeria, we work in reverse. Destroy the democracy. And that is wrong.
Well, Chief, while these things that you're saying is of concern to many, the bigger concern for me is the entire process of election petitions. Now, you and Mr. Abdullahi have spoken to what the laws say, what the processes should be and all of that. But it is one thing for justice to be done. See, Chief, you're laughing. It's another thing entirely for justice to be seen to have been done. Because there are some decisions that have been made and a number of people have had reason to question in their minds. I think it was Chief Olisagbakuba that was also saying that, I mean, in response to my colleague Shola Shoele's question about whether or what he thinks of the decisions of the courts. He said after like 30 or 40 years practice, he has some questions in his mind about some of the decisions that the judiciary is taking. And so if legal practitioners are thinking like that, I wonder what you think Nigerians should be saying.
See why I'm laughing? There was this well-respected lawyer in England, in London. He took a cab one day to say, please take me to the Court of Justice. And the cab kept on driving all around. After the time, the lawyer said, the Court of Justice is not too far. He said, I don't know where. The cab driver said, I don't know where it is. He said, incredible. You don't know where the Court of Law is? Oh, Court of Law? I know where the Court of Law is. You should have said it. That there is a difference between Court of Law and Court of Justice. That in all his years as a cab driver has never seen justice. So Olisa Bakoba is correct. There's somebody who take a house now and say, go to court, but I've seized your house. In the next 10 years, they're still trying to convince the court.
Yes.
Meanwhile, the usurper has taken
is in possession.
Yes. You see, in this country, justice is difficult to come by. I said this with all sense of responsibility as a lawyer. Difficult. In a way, the way our laws are made, yes, neither here nor there in some cases, but there is also the human factor. I gave you the example of the director of DSS, who sees it as his job to stop you from even insulting the president, from speaking your mind. Today, what is the greatest number of cases filed? The site one is cyber security that you posted on your Facebook that Leroy is not the president. Therefore, you're under arrest. They arrest you, lock you up on Friday, come back on Monday, and then charge
Monday
you to court.
Monday is public holiday.
Then Monday is public holiday. Before you know it, you have spent 1 week. There are many cases like that. Today, many governors are stopping people from other parties from contesting. I'll give you an example. Ebonyi State, the Abga candidate was accused of murder, armed robbery, and so many things. And the man had to be on the run. The court in Abuja said, don't disturb him. They said, no, we must arrest him. Rivers State, the same thing. Imo State, where I come from, we have similar cases. Here in Lagos, you also have people afraid to even vote. So when we think justice should come in, justice will be done. Olisa was correct. As Shakespeare would say, I have seen sights.
Well, you know, I mean, it's also interesting that you cited an example of something that happened outside Nigeria, of a cab driver. So it sounds like it's not something limited to Nigerians. No. It's something that it's human, just as you have said. But now, this is the system that we have in Nigeria. There are questions on the minds of many, many people. Perhaps, you know, maybe more of that down south of Nigeria about the entire process and everything. This is the only system we have right now. And the Election Petitions Tribunal is the go-to place. But the rhetorics going around is already suggesting that whatever comes out of the Election Petitions Tribunal will not be what many people would want. What do we do?
Well, let me just go back a little. Before this election, Professor Mahmoud and then Festus Okoye were efficient in assuring us that this election, your votes will count. They kept on telling us about beavers. Yes, beavers will make sure X, Y, Z. Yet, in Kano local government of Enugu State, beavers recorded 7,000 people as being accredited. And the results, 33,000 votes in favor of the winning party. And change the whole
in Enugu State.
In Kano local government, in Enugu State, I'm saying it, pinpointing it so that all will hear. So, in many places, votes did not count. Either you were intimidated, as in Lagos, you have somebody shouting, you cannot come. Or I remember a couple, Yoruba man, Yoruba wife, in around Ajah area. They were stopped from voting. The man said, why? He said, you be Igbo. The cop said, no, we are not Igbo. Me, we are pure Yoruba. This is my father's name, this is my village. I said, no, you look like Igbo. And they never voted. Yet we have efficient system of police, remember? So with such people, you can never convince them that what they are seeing as a result is the result. So that feeling of injustice and disappointment is there. But most importantly, and this is the dangerous part, the young and young at heart, since NSAS, have been saying we want to take back our country. And they came out in large numbers. And as all young people know, A is A, B is B, C is C. They voted. And what they saw as a result is not what they were expecting. Come back 4 years' time and tell them the same story. So if those in power actually understand the psychology of what is going on, they will make sure that by the time they sit by the fireside in their old age, that they are safe.
Can we really say, Chief, that there was a large turnout? I said that advisedly. The data available says that it's about the same average 30% of people on the voter register. You also cited an example just now. Beavers captured 7,000. The records show 33,000. It means that there could be a far lower number. That's, I mean, going by the examples you have just cited now, and God knows how many such examples all over the country. So, as I say, this is the system that we have. We are all a part of it. The concern really for me is how the outcome, what should we be telling ourselves about whatever is going to come from the Election Petitions Tribunal? Because there are those who have gone there, and some of those who have already gone there, filed and all of those things, the rhetorics that are still coming from them are still sounding like we don't believe in the system that we have subjected ourselves to.
Okay, let me just give you one small example. Okota, Oshodi Solo local government. When people were going around trying to get their PVC, there was a massive turnout on a daily basis, in thousands. And it became a scandal. Pastor Tommy went there, and the press followed him. He asked why should people suffer in order to get their PVCs. The resident electoral commissioner was angry. So it's an abuse for you to come here and then address the press that these people were migrants. His language. Now, after some time, they said no more chance to collect PVCs. They were no longer there, that they have exhausted all. A few days to the election, bags and bags of PVCs were dumped in Go Palace Way, near the canal. And announcements started coming on the internet. If you don't have your own, please go and check. And people were rushing there. The same INEC that failed to distribute those PVCs just said nothing. In Anambra State, they were found in a forest. The same INEC that said they didn't have any. And the ones who released them. And the radio stations were busy telling people, go and check. And people were going. On election day, names were pasted with pictures. Those who didn't have PVCs would go there and take a picture of their own and say, please, can we? But they say, you don't have PVC. The turnout was high, but the system failed them. Failed them because those too much promise and very little delivery. That's it, and they felt frustrated. The second election, when it came up, many people would interrupt out of anger. So when I specify the younger and younger chat, I know what I'm saying.
No, I do understand what you say, and I agree with you. This question of dumped PVCs, for instance, we took it up with, I think it was Mr. Okoye or one or two other INEC officials, and they said, look, the ones that were in public domain that was seen, at least one or two examples that we cited to them, said that those ones weren't part of the new ones. That, you know, that is what we were told. Whether or not that is it,
I think they were lying to themselves.
But they were still PVCs.
Yes, they were lying to themselves. That's the only thing I can say. Because if you want to deceive yourself, tell yourself lies and nod their head in satisfaction.
Chief, this time around, there was plenty of, if you don't like this, go to court. If you don't like this, go to court. So that gave people not too positive impressions about the courts of law and legal practitioners, might I say, and judges and all that.
I know you're pointing the other way, not me.
So people are beginning to think that if they can tell me blatantly, if I don't like it, I should go to court. I mean, am I sure I'm going to get justice when I get to this court? It looks like they have everything tied up. What do you think about that speculation?
Well, let me just say this. two expressions. One is victory is concentric circle of conspiracies. Concentric circles of conspiracies will give you victory. Then the Italian said, the end justifies the means. So when we have it, I go to court. You saw what happened in Abuja, I think on Friday. Somebody filed an ex parte motion. In other words, you did not serve the other side. You claimed all kinds of criminal actions. Yet, in law, you cannot file a criminal action by affidavit or originating summons. No. There must be evidence. People must go there to testify. And what happened? They came out with the ex parte order. That's the Labour Party case. Said the man forged, the man did this, the man impersonated. These are criminal actions. You don't do that. Ex parte order, the other side didn't know what was happening. Ready. The judge is saying, yeah, go ahead, you're out.
But isn't that what ex parte order is supposed to be?
No, ex parte order when there is an emergency in a civil matter, in which if this is not done, then something will go wrong. Okay. Issues are purely simple, not criminal. So when he says somebody forged, it's a criminal action. When he says somebody stole, it's a criminal action. Impersonated, criminal action. Never by originating summons. Never by ex parte order. If I say Alero must not appear here today because she will come late, I can go by ex parte. But the judge will look at it. Why didn't you come before? Why didn't you come a week ago so as to put out notice? Why must it be the day before? I remember me as a young lawyer going to court saying, this tenant wants to restrain the landlord from ejecting him. The judge is late now. Justice Shegu got up and looked at me in anger. So why should I stop him? And where were you before? And walked out. That is the kind of system that will hold on. For instance, if somebody goes to court to say, stop the president-elect from being sworn in, it's a waste of time. Clearly, the Constitution is very clear. May 29, somebody must be there. Nature abhors vacuum, and so does our Constitution. But as for the feeling of injustice today, it is extremely high. And it's a spillover from the 2019, where INEC came up and said, we have no server. That's the funniest statement I've ever had. Banks have servers. If you don't have any server, how can you store a system? How can you store documents in your system? And the Supreme Court said, yes, they said they have no server. You have failed to prove that they have no server. Yet, INEC is a defendant. Can you, as a petitioner, zoom into the INEC office to go and bring out the server? It's not possible.
You know, Chief, this conversation is so interesting. We could go on and on about it, but unfortunately, our time has completely run out. One of the concerns a good number of people would have is, okay, so this is the system that we have on our hands. This is the process that we have all accepted to go by. Election petitions tribunals will open, as soon as the law has assigned for them. There are those who have already filed. In fact, orders are already being given, by the petitions tribunals and all of that. So, let's just continue to hope that at least we can all rein ourselves in and ensure that the same system that we've all adopted will work for us. Chief Godi Wazurike, legal practitioner, thank you so much for your time and perspectives this morning.
Thank you.
And we also like to thank Abdulkaha Abdullahi, a legal practitioner who joined us virtually. We couldn't really take you much because the network wasn't so friendly. But thank you all the same for your time. Well, that's one down. We'll return in a moment or two to take on another topic. Please stay with us.
us. Now, April 7th, which was yesterday, was World Health Day. And this year, the focus was health for all. And yesterday marked the 75th anniversary of the World Health Organization, WHO. World Health Day is a global health awareness day under the auspices of the WHO and other related organizations. The 7th of April marks the anniversary of the founding of that agency in 1948. Now, let's bring it home. Nigeria's progress towards this goal of giving health to all has unfolded at a rather slow pace. And the country's health financing landscape is characterized by suboptimal and grossly inefficient public spending on health and high out-of-pocket expenditure for citizens, as households currently cover the cost of 77.5% of the country's total health care spending. That doesn't sound too good.
Doesn't sound good at all, despite all the efforts being made over the years.
And although there is now health insurance, I don't know how many people are actually availing themselves of these companies who offer health insurance policies.
How many are aware?
How many are aware and how many can afford?
And how many can afford?
Well, these are issues we're going to take up with our guests this morning. Right now, I'm glad to welcome Professor Wale Tomori, who is a professor of virology. Remember, Professor, from the COVID days? Good morning, Prof.
Morning, how are you?
Good to see you again.
My pleasure, too.
Yes. So, World Health Day. It's like Nigeria is not part of this world we're talking about. Because how well can you say that Nigeria is walking towards giving health to all?
Thank you. Let me just start by saying that the World Health Organization in the 75 years has done well. Smallpox is out, polio is almost gone. Without the World Health, I'm sure the world would have been worse than it is. Unfortunately, we cannot translate that to our country. When we say the world has done well, it is a big range. Some have scored 0, some have scored 100, and then on the average, you said the world has done well. But there are some, like our country, that have been at the bottom rung of the health parameter. We have not done well. I was listening to what we're saying. Indeed, not just in the area you're talking about, in many, many areas, we have not really done well. We could have done much better. We have the resources to do it. If you remember, Nigeria was the place where in 2001 they said 15% of funds should be put to health. Nigeria has been one of the countries that have never even near half of that. So we have not done well. Let's be frank with ourselves.
Well, that's a little disturbing. But is that for reason of no activity, for reason of a dearth of ideas? What is missing, Prof?
I think, first of all, one needs to take it back a little bit. I mean, my generation, I used to say we survive by chance. The current generation, they have a choice because there have been some improvement. I mean, let me not be that pessimistic about our country. My generation, my father, we were having children because they're not sure who was going to survive. Nowadays, you can almost be sure that, if you have 2 children, you give them the proper vaccination, you take care of them, they will live. I mean, so that's why I said we survive by chance, and they have a choice to survive. And I think that has improved. I mean, even in my secondary school days when we had free health education, free health up to the age of 18, apart from free education, which we had. So Nigeria has made steps, but it's like, I think our population, there are certain things we not do. We're not put enough into health. to meet the way our population was growing. You may be building the hospitals, maybe setting up all those other things, but then it has to be matched by your meeting. You use the word health for all. And if your population outstrips the resources you are providing, then you're not achieving the health for all. Whether it is a matter of ideas, I don't think so. We have policies, fantastic policies in the country. I think it's the implementation that shouldn't be a major problem with us in Nigeria. And the implementation comes from the fact that we don't implement completely. We don't follow all the guidelines. If there are 5 steps to take, Nigeria will go to the 5th one and forget numbers 1 to 4. And all of this is based on where self-interest overrides your national interest. A lot of the problems we are having is the implementation by the people. The people who are responsible for implementation are responsible. And if they do it well, then of course we won't have the problem I'm talking about. I'll give a few examples. You look at the policy, and it says take step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. Step 5 is where Nigeria will go to, because that's where the money is. The first steps, they don't gain too much from it, and they jump to step 5, forgetting that you can't do step 5 without doing 1, 2, 3, 4. And this is what has been the thing that has been affecting our policies in Nigeria.
Prof, we had a medical practitioner here who told us some time ago that Nigeria was actually a destination for medical tourism in those days, the days of UCH especially. Even Caucasians used to come to UCH to have their babies. And we thought, wow.
Wait a minute.
Wow.
Did that really happen?
In this country? Is somebody telling us porkies? But
no.
We know that was what was happening. So is it just the issue of the population that got us to where we are now? The explosion of the population?
You know, I made two points. The fact that self-interest overriding national interest. In the days when we were growing up, we had a government that had what we call good governance. And that's what made people like me even go to school. I was talking about, we talk of family tree. In my family, we talk of family forest. Where there's so many of us, there was no opportunity to go to school or anything. But then we had good governance that brought good governance, from free education, free health, and all that. That has not been continued. We've not had, let me say, since 1966, when we had our first school, this country has been going backwards. No continuity of good governance. And that's what has led us to where we are. In the absence of good governance, accountability, and transparency in what you're doing, the money that goes into health, into anything, education, or gets into in the pocket of the wrong people, not the pocket of the people, not for the improve the life of the people. So in a combination of with our population, which is quite loyal control, we've also have people who have not taken that spirit of serving the people into their activities. They tended to serve themselves rather than the people. So the combination of that, population, poor governance, has led us to where we are today.
Well, Prof, I know that, sometimes you literally have to stifle yourself from your patriotic fervor, and you struggle to stay within the health space where you are, because I've listened to you talk with passion about Nigeria, and your patriotic heart is undeniable. But if there is anything to cheer, Prof, what is it? I'm not talking about the technology that have improved over the years, because you spoke to the fact that back then you lived by chance, but today you seem to live by choice. That's for children. Is there anything to cheer in our 60-something years as a nation, especially in terms of health? I've been hearing of health for all since the 90s, and what was it even since the 80s? Health for all by the year 2000, housing for all by the year 2000. I heard that so many times.
Mercedes for all by the year 2000.
All kinds of things, all kinds of promises were made. But now we're still talking about health for all. And an abysmal percentage of people are still struggling with health insurance. We'll come to that. But is there anything to cheer, really? Have we made any progress at all? even with all of the gloom that we've listed, is there anything to cheer in our health space?
Yes, there's always something to cheer. We are alive. That's the first thing to talk about. In spite of all the problems, some of us still survive. But then, in the desert of non-performance, we can also look at the fact that smallpox was eradicated, and Nigeria was part of it. And I remember many of my people in my colleague who died of smallpox, who became blind. I even have in my family people who were blinded by smallpox. But we don't see that today. I grew up in my primary, secondary school with people who were lame and crippled and were walking over. Polio is almost gone, at least in the world. It's gone in Nigeria, although I see having a few cases here and there. But generally in Africa, polio is gone. So you can count on those two places. Many of the epidemics that used to ravage us, vaccines have been introduced. Yellow fever, for example, we're still having it. The fact that we're not succeeding with, say, yellow fever and vaccine production, those other issues, is because we are not, putting all our resources into what it should be. You mentioned immunization coverage for Nigeria, for example. We shouldn't be where we are. Nigeria should not be having diphtheria now, if we had done our immunization properly. So the tools are there. Using them for the good of the people has always been a major problem. But like I said, you can talk of smallpox is gone. Polio is almost gone. I feel a bit sad that a few other things which we should have spent our money on. Lassa has been a major problem since 1969. Some of those things that affect us directly, we seem to be waiting for external people to come and solve the problem for us. And I think that is wrong. It's our problem. We should be focusing on those ones with the resources that we have. And is it that we don't have resources? We have resources. We have resources. We're just misusing our resources, and that's the problem.
And Prof, during COVID, I must bring this in many of our engagements with yourself as well as other medical practitioners, it was brought to the fore that we had to pay attention to the health sector because COVID came and it didn't matter whether you were rich or poor. You just couldn't move. Even if you were ill and you could afford to go abroad, you just couldn't go because the whole world shut down. So since COVID, Prof, have you seen any determined or concerted effort to improve on our health sector?
Yeah, well, when COVID came, you saw what we saw. There were a lot of government efforts, funding. Some huge amount of money was supposed to be put into COVID and solve the problem of COVID. But again, it was a knee-jerk reaction. Everybody was, the economy was going down, so we had to do something. But is it permanent? Is what we have put in place? Is it what we can? Is it something that is durable? I said no, and that's because the problem is a lot of our leaders look for opportunities like this. Sorry to use the word, to make money, and that's where they make what I call blood money on the life of the people. And I think this is the thing. If we had a consistent policy that we follow all the time, not dependent on foreign agencies, but focusing on the needs, sometimes it doesn't take that much, when you look at the percentage we're talking about of what we need for health. It doesn't take that much. But even the little much that we put, we misuse it again. So are we ready for the next epidemic? Maybe that's the question you probably will ask me. I would say no, we are not. Because, we were dismantling all of those facilities we set up during COVID.
Well, Prof, let's decrypt this. The short changes that we have, if I can use the term.
Yeah.
Generically, we've said government, we, and all of that. Now, there are 3 tiers of health, the best we know. And there is what you medical practitioners will call primary health care, secondary health care, tertiary health care. And at the end of each of these, there are levels of authority. And there are human beings officers or medical officers assigned at the various levels. Where would you say we have the greatest lack?
Let me again to bring the point clearly. There are certain states that have done very well, I mean, with COVID, and they have some enduring things in place. Lagos State, where you are, for example, is one good example. You've put in a lot of things, and you can see it's because of persistent policies over the years. It's not just something because of COVID. You remember when Ebola came? I mean, they came from that, and they move on to what they are today. So you can see that consistency with one or two of the states. I think you raised the point. I mean, look at our constitution. It says health is, what's the word they use? They use one word for health, that is something for both the state.
On the concurrent list.
Concurrently, sorry, that's the word. You know, so there's a concurrent list, which means everybody has a role to play. But the states have abandoned their duties. Of course, you know, there's no local government because the states also have overtaken the local governments on what we're seeing. So everything is in the hand of the federal government. And the federal government can't do all of those things. In the time when we started research in Nigeria, states were taking care of their own problem. I remember in Ibadan, when we were there, when we started, we were getting reports from states, not from federal. We were the ones who were informing the federal that this state has a problem, they need help. Because they knew where to go, and they put money into it. But suddenly, you know, everybody is now going to Abuja for everything, and therefore the states have abandoned their duty. The state have emasculated the local government, and so this is where the problem. We used to go to local government areas in those days, you know, and go straight to the local government to solve the problem that they are there. You remember when we had the smallpox? I think not smallpox, monkeypox. When monkeypox came out of Nigeria. Into US. It was a local government that detected it. The only time they called their federal was when it involved international travel. And that's when, because the local government couldn't do international travel. But all of these problems concerning with monkeypox or detection and everything was done at the local government level. And that's what we should have done. And that's what Professor Olukoya Ransom-Kuti came up with his big policies, so that at that level, because that's where the problems occur. At that level, we should equip them to be able to solve the problem. What we have right now is our federal running helter-skelter all over the country, like you used to say, like decapitated chicken, you know, in all directions. And that's what we do. Because states have abandoned their duty. Federal government has to take over that one. I think we need to go back to that level where states and local government would take care of the situation in their domain.
But isn't that a little disturbing? No, seriously disturbing, Prof, because I mean, okay, so there is that dictum of the SDGs, you know, there's a health goal, you know, for the SDGs. And I also understand, I mean, that's partly the reason for this whole talk about what Alero mentioned the other time, which is to cut down out-of-pocket spending for health as much as possible. You spoke about Ibadan, you know, the other time, and there is information out there that, you know, Oyo State, in Oyo State, for instance, that you have, that with 8,000 naira, you have unfettered access to all basic, you know, health treatment across board. In fact, we also understand that there is a special arrangement for pensioners and elderly people. That is in Oyo State. I mean, maybe that's just one of such examples as the one that you also cited in Lagos. But that is what we have now. However, you also mentioned the role that the federal government is playing here, you know, in the various states as well. Is there a place of disconnect between the, you know, health authorities at the federal level and at the state level? Where should there be that connect where at the end of the day, it's about people, not just about whether or not it is one official at the federal or one official at the state level?
I think we go back to what we're saying. States have a role and a duty. Let each chair of government carry out its role and its duty. And once we get that one, of course, then we're working together as a country. There's none of them can work in isolation. All the good things you're talking about, Lagos, I'm talking about Oyo State, it ends there. I mean, it doesn't affect the people in maybe the next state. Until we all work together along that line, collectively, you know, state doing its own job, local government doing its own job, then federal is being in a position to oversee and coordinate activities. But right now, the federal is the one doing all of the things in most of the states. Many of the a few states which we mentioned, many of them are not. They're not doing what they should do. I went to a state during one of the epidemics. I can't remember the state now, and the commissioner was actually asking me to beg his governor so that they can get a vehicle for their Department of Appeal Division so that they can carry out activities. And I said, but he appointed you. Why should I be the one begging? I mean, these are some of the ridiculous things that we find in our districts. You know, we have almighty governors who do what they like, you know, who don't probably know why they are elected in the first place. And these are some of the issues we are getting. So leadership is important. And when they give that type of leadership, people will follow. People will follow. Nigeria is a group of, we follow things that they're listening. And if you give the right direction, our people will follow. But then we've never gotten the right direction for a long time. And I use the word, there was good governance when I was growing up. Now, we've never had good governance in this country. Name it from every government, from the military era in 1966 up to today. We don't have anything called good governance. We're only hoping for future that, I don't know what the future will bring.
Prof, what are your thoughts about this Japa syndrome of medical personnel out of Nigeria?
Yeah, I mean, they continue to Japa, when you don't create the enabling environment for them to stay. You talk about training. I mean, I'm using some stupid, sorry to use the word, bills that are coming out that say you must stay in your country for 5 years before you can go and get your license or something of that nature. We talk about capacity building. We don't talk about capacity retention. You need to create an enabling environment for that capacity you have built to function. If you train me as a doctor and the facilities are not there, you want me to spend 5 years doing nothing? These are some of the things. So we must create that enabling environment for people to stay. My generation stayed because I had something to work with. You think I would have stayed in Nigeria if the country, I mean, you mentioned the time when people used to come to UCH from outside the country. If the situation was not like that in Ibadan, Virus Lab where I was working, I mentioned to you I used to go to local government and do those. If that situation was not there, you think I would have stayed? I wouldn't. So I don't blame all those who are leaving. It is not patriotism or lack of patriotism. You create that a brain will drain to where it can be nurtured, and that's what is happening to us. All these things we're talking about, diaspora coming to set up things in Nigeria, forget it until we resolve the basic problem. Create an enabling environment for the people to function. The diaspora people will come back. At the time, Nigeria was diaspora for India, wasn't it? The Indians, they were the ones teaching us in many of our secondary schools. The Indians that are coming back today are the ones heading Dangote company. They're not coming back to teach because they have facilities in their countries. So their country government decided to create the enabling environment for their trained personnel to stay. That's the solution. It's not making draconian laws that say you must stay for 5 years before you do. Doing what? Doing what?
That's very interesting. So you don't see any life in that law?
They have not addressed the basic thing. You don't, I mean, like I mentioned to you, I said Nigeria will have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 steps. We jump to the 5th one and don't do 1, 2, 3, 4. That's what is happening again. Before you give that law to say stay for 5 years, you must create the environment for the person to work. If he doesn't have a place to go, no electricity, no hospital, no what is he doing in the 5 years that he's going to stay?
Yeah.
So you solve that problem first before you make those stupid laws. Sorry to use the word.
Well, interestingly, some doctors have been reacting. One of my colleagues, my friends, I was telling Alero earlier in the day when this program began, was saying, look, if that law goes through, no problem. But let there also be a follow-up law. All government officials, federal, state, or local, must remain in Nigeria and use those the doctors that have been mandated to stay. Before.
That's fair, no?
What do you think of that?
Fair, no? It's fair, no? I mean, you can't make law for one group and leave the others, and then say the others can do what they like. No, it's not. So let the law go for all of us in every aspect. Then we can then come and solve all the things together. You can't pick out just one group and say you must stay. There are other people who are leaving the country. Engineers are leaving, nurses are leaving, people are leaving. It's not just how many of the young people are going out of this country? How many of them? IT experts. If you don't create that enabling environment generally, people will not stay. I think that's what I'm saying. Let us look back on what the question that you should be asking, why are people leaving? A lot of people say, oh, it's because of they are not patriotic. That's bullshit. Sorry to use the word. They are leaving because they cannot fulfill their professional sense that they go to. You train me as a doctor, I can't train as I can't work as a doctor. There's no professional fulfillment. That's the major thing that is making people living. Of course, there's also the aspect of life. So my parents will spend all this money training me, and then for the next 20 years, I'm still living with my parents, who have spent all these resources in his retirement. He's still feeding me. What type of nonsense is that? These are the things we should be looking at. We should address those issues. Remember when people used to go across the Sahara Desert to go into Europe and then go and drown in the Mediterranean Sea? And people say, oh, why are they going there to go and suffer? If the situation was good at home, would they go? And instead of our leaders addressing those things, they are blaming those people. What have you done to keep your people?
Well, Prof, just maybe one or two other issues very quickly, talking about health for all. Is the issue of health insurance. I mean, it's something that's been on since the early 2000s, you know, and all talking around the fact that, look, we need for people to cut down on out-of-pocket spending, embrace this health insurance scheme of the federal government, state government, and all of that. A number of companies have done it, and from what statistics Electoral gave earlier, the number of people who are on the program are nothing to write home about. So one wonders what is missing in the whole conversation around getting people involved in these health insurance programs all across the country, so that at least we can have some health for all, or health for more people than what we have now. What do you think is missing? What's the gap?
I think there are many factors. First of all, the implementation of it. And first of all, if you give me insurance and say, okay, you can go to the hospital. The question, we have been talking right now about the poor health situations, facilities around. So I get an insurance, I go into the hospital. I get there, I wait for 24 or 5 hours to get service. And at the end of it all, I'll probably better off going to go and pay for something I can get a better service for. So we need, again, back to, you don't keep insurance when the health system itself is not in good shape. You know, that's one of the points. So yes, there's health insurance. And then if you notice, most of the people that are getting the percentage you're talking about, they are mainly civil servants who are forced by government rule to enroll in that. I mean, take the civil servants out, you probably will have 0.00% of Nigerians on health insurance. But again, I think one of the major problems is the fact that what service that you provide with that health insurance? What facilities are there for people to go? I would rather make sure, you know, if I have my little money, go to a doctor and get it done on my own rather than line up with the health insurance, with the poor service that we're getting. And then that awareness. So we need to, again, back to what I was saying, you need to create an enabling environment for things to function.
Do you think there's enough awareness of these health insurance schemes all over the country?
No, I mean, there's not enough awareness of anything in the country because government doesn't, really, let's be frank with ourselves. What awareness are we getting? We only talk about it when there's something. Again, I'll go back. Should we be talking about Lassa fever in Nigeria that is like is a Christmas disease? It's not. It's been with us since 1969. What kind of awareness have we created for our people?
Add to that, Prof. Just a quick one because we're running out of time already.
Okay.
Add to that the trust quotient, because on the one hand is awareness, as Electoral have mentioned. On the other hand is whether or not people can even trust government institutions such as general hospitals or whatever, you know, health facility that belongs to government. Do you see that as an issue as well?
Yeah, because I alluded to that. That what service are you providing with insurance? When I can go into there and wait for 4 hours before I can see a doctor. or something. It's all part of the whole story. Yes, awareness, the facilities are not up to par, and then these are some of the issues that we need to be talking about. Nigeria should not be anyway. It's our country, but we'll keep this, see what we can do to get it better.
It is our country, Prof. Professor Wale Tomori, Professor of Virology, thank you very much for joining us on this occasion of World Health Day 2023.
Thank you, my friend.
Happy
Easter to all of you.
Happy Easter to you too. And thank you for staying with us at home. We'll be right back shortly with another interesting conversation.
Well, it's still sunrise, and what time is it now? Yeah, 10:35. Reminds me of radio. You just have to give a time check. Anyway, why are you laughing? Come on. It's Easter, right? So many Christians believe the essential message of Easter is that Jesus died in our place, so that we all could be forgiven for all of our sins. But this forgiveness was also available in the Old Testament through sacrifices of animals. It means that we too, we can come to the same resurrection life that Jesus lived. That's what Easter is about. It means something much more than just forgiveness. There are those who have referred to it as the exchange, of life for life. But what is all of this got to do with us as a nation, or our national life? This morning we have with us to have that conversation. You just saw him for a bit. It is Reverend Dr. Victor Bamidele Akirele, who is President, Lagos Central Baptist Conference of the Nigerian Baptist Convention, which oversees 186 churches. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you very much. Happy Easter to you.
I wish you the same. So, what is Easter about? Just forgiveness? What's that word? Exchange of life? What exactly is it about? Just for those who may be hearing this for the first time.
Easter is a very important celebration in Christianity.
Is it not the most important?
It's not. We have other celebrations. I know you are asking because some people have said Christmas and Easter. Which one is more?
Which one is superior?
Is superior. All right. Easter, we commemorate the death and resurrection of Jesus Christ, celebrating his death, celebrating the fact that someone died in our place. Someone made this atonement for us, and it is not something that is far different from what happened in the Old Testament. Like you did mention in the intro, in the Old Testament you see sacrifices being made to atone for sin, but that is a shadow of what will later happen in the New Testament. All that speaks about the Messiah who will come. And so Easter is all about celebrating the resurrection. If it is just the death then and no resurrection, then it is not Easter. So we celebrate the resurrection of our Lord Jesus Christ, which brings us life and also hope that we too, the Christians, we also resurrect.
How is that essential? Even Jesus himself raised people to life. So why are we celebrating those ones that he raised to life? Why is it important to celebrate that in our lives? Is it just about the religion or what?
Yes, those ones are also, for example, when he raised Lazarus, he also testified of who he is and what he will do. Because there he said, I am the resurrection and the life. So it is important to us as Christians, though Jesus brought some to life, brought some people who were dead to life. This is so important to us as Christians because it testifies of our faith and talks about when we die in Christ, definitely we will resurrect and ascend with him. So all about Christianity is talking about life for life. Jesus Christ died in our place for us to have life, abundant life here on earth and life here after in heaven.
The questions around, the religious nature and the relational nature of Christianity. How does this celebration that we're talking about, how does it make a difference?
Yes, the celebration of Easter reminds us God's love. And when we talk about relational life, it is expected as Christians should love all. Bringing us to John chapter 3, verse 16, where the scripture says, "For God so loved the world." So God's love to man is universal, not particular. So it's a love universality, not particularity. And what that simply means that for anyone who is a genuine Christian, so to say, should love all, should relate with all. There could be, yes, there could be some strain, but then you don't relate to the person with the extent of bringing the person down. Christ loved, Christ died, Christ humbled himself, Christ obeyed. So we see the love of God. We see that when we talk about Easter.
Is that not a tall order? Asking mere mortals, mere human beings to love all.
It's not. We can also relate this, not just mere mortal now. Those who have yielded themselves to Christ. This is different from human beings generally. In 1 Corinthians chapter 13, it talks about love. And that talks about if you say you love and you're not patient, then there's no love. If you say you love and there's no long suffering, there's no love. If you say you love and you're not kind, then there's no love. It's Christianity is a way of life. It is not, you come into Christianity, then you give all. You sacrificed even for others, just for peace to reign. And that is what Jesus taught us. A man who had no sin, who had not committed anything, but gave himself for all.
Reverend,
yes.
I'm going to ask Alero's question again.
In other words,
I'm going to use this exact same words.
Oh, okay.
You just said now, I mean, if you're okay. I have read that portion as well of 1 Corinthians, and there are 16 characteristics of love right there.
Yeah.
The number one of them is patience.
Patience.
In Lagos.
Yeah.
Driving to Isheri.
And in fact, traffic compels you to be patient. But there is also restiveness in the midst of it all. And you find it difficult to live out this love sometimes when some people are doing things that you expect, come the holy on, you're just coming from church. So I ask Alero's question again, in the same words, is that not a tall order? When people really do find it difficult to live that love life because of the things that they see
every day, the things that confront them every day. I mean, Pastor, I'm only a human being. I'm only human.
I'm also human. And what you have said is true. Because as human being, sometimes I blow up the fuse. But I call myself to order because of the Spirit of God that lives in me. And that makes a difference. Yes, in the midst of all the environmental challenges, there could be the restaurant, like you mentioned, there could be impatient, but it won't go far. You call yourself to order because you remember the kind of person you are by reason of your relationship with Christ, and that should help you to call yourself to order in relation to others.
Okay, Pastor. Let's put this in the context of our daily lives again. I am sure that somewhere in the Quran you will also find these things we have spoken about. This love everybody and be patient, especially, and all the other things of 1 Corinthians 13. They'll certainly be in the Quran somewhere. Now let's relate this to our normal lives. You have said that sometimes you blow up a fuse and then you remember. It's like the Spirit of God suddenly descends upon you and reminds you of who you are, and then you call yourself to order. How many of us do you think that the Spirit of God descends upon and who call ourselves to order when we are misbehaving?
Well, that is the purpose of the church. As we go to church, whatever time of the services, we continue to hear God's word, which builds us up. See, we can have different level of our how we can respond or endure things. But as we grow up, as we build up our faith, as we will listen to God's word, then you continue to grow. And you grow to a point where you are able to relate with people, irrespective of who they are. You are able to love people, irrespective of who they are.
I see a good world ahead of me. If I believe what you have just said.
We do pray that should be, but definitely, since we all are not of the faith, and also, even if we are all of the faith, the humanity, the humanness in us, we always manifest at a point.
You know, Reverend, my apologies. So I think I want to, let me start a war, if I can use the term here now. Because what the most prominent conversation we're having now in Nigeria, take it or leave it, is around the elections.
Yeah.
And it's something that Electoral, would reference this, has colored our lives in very many ways.
Very well.
We go to the office in the build-up to the elections, all kinds of rhetorics. Now the elections have come, the elections have gone, the rhetorics have not, been suspended. Yeah. But here you are now talking about, people going to church and all of those things. What effect or impact is the message, or are the messages that people here in church supposed to have on their rhetorics, any and everywhere that they find themselves? If this is all about love, and we are having this celebration, and a sizable number of people are listening to us and watching us now, how should people be displaying and expressing that love in the fallout of the elections that we have had? Because, just as you said, it is a way of life. And it is not reserved for any faith whatsoever. I shudder to use the word religion. It's not conscripted to any faith whatsoever. Yeah. We have Christians, we have a reverend gentleman who is being elected governor in Benue State. So how do we convince people that at the end of the day, it's love for fellow man, love for country, that should trump any other sentiments?
Yes, we need to educate our people that even when we talk about love, it does not mean to be a fool and you take any kind of shit. But it means living right.
Excuse.
Sorry, please. Sorry for my language, my words. Now, it does not mean you just take anything that is poured at you. But it means you also express yourself. Love is expressive. But when you express yourself, you don't express yourself pulling down other people. Each of us have our own opinion, and we are entitled to our opinion. All that happened and still happening, the aftermath of the election, we find that some people went overboard when it comes to the usage of words. When it comes to, you find that these are people who are also within the conference of going to church. So, as we hear God's word, it should build us up, like I've said, and it should help us to endure, enduring other people's opinion, enduring other people's view. Express your view. Ideologies may differ, and it will always differ as we express ourselves. And we talk about love accommodates in the face of different opinions and ideologies.
Reverend, still on that matter, forgive me since I'm putting you on the spot. People prayed. In fact, there are those who will reference clergymen coming and saying this or saying that about what the elections will produce and all. We've also seen people who say, and I prayed though, how come this didn't go the way I expected? God didn't answer my prayer, and all of that. So what should be their comfort now? Because they prayed, whether for the results of the elections or for a job or for a sick fellow or whatever, it didn't come out the way they expected it to be. To some of them, it will look like God has abandoned them. To some, things haven't gone this particular way, and consequently, God does not love me anymore. And consequently, I cannot give the love that God did not give me to anybody. What do you say to them?
Well, one thing we have to know about this God, we cannot force things on him. He has his own purpose for humanity. He has his own plan. He has his own timing. We have prayed. The way you have prayed, thinking the election will go this way. We have others who have also prayed that thinking it will go this way. We have not all prayed that the election should go the same way, and we cannot. So God has his ultimate will, and we must always realize that even when things are not going the way we wish, there is this common saying, which I read from a book that says, because God loves us, his will for us is always the best. So we continue to pray. We continue to trust him, and we can be sure that God will do it. Even if he will not do it, I take you back to the story of the Hebrew boys who were asked to bow down to idol, and they refused, and they said, we know our God will deliver us. Even if we know, he will not. We will still not. So that he has not answered the way we wish does not say we should go back from him.
Essentially saying you don't answer your own prayer.
Yes. And if he has not done this, but there are others he has done before now.
Indeed.
Okay, so perhaps we're getting to that time where we'll say thank you. But before we go, what would you want to say to the clergy? Because, and how people receive word from the clergy. Yes, I know there is a likelihood that you will refer to the Berean Christians who went home after listening to the pastor to check whether or not what the pastor said, was correct. But there are many people who will not go home to like the Berean Christians. So what should people look out for when they listen to word that they will use after Sunday? They will go to church or to work on Monday, Tuesday and all of that, to use those words. What should people be looking out for?
I want to encourage my fellow brothers and sisters who are clergy to teach the sound doctrine. The sound doctrine is no other thing than the scripture. Jesus came, Jesus died, Jesus was buried, Jesus resurrected, Jesus is coming back. Whatever we preach must always narrow down to that. And we must help our listeners to know that whatever they are going through, all things are possible with him. And even if it has not done it now, we should not still give up. But let me call your attention to a scripture which we don't talk about, which is about Joseph Arimathea. A man we should talk about him when we talk Easter. The scripture describes him as a member of the Sanhedrin Council. The scripture described him as a man who was well respected and also a disciple of Jesus, a secret disciple of Jesus.
Not a pastor.
Not a pastor. This man went to ask Pilate for the body. Pilate, let's say a political leader, and he asked for his body, took him to the tomb which he had prepared for himself. This man was a man of class. He's a man we could call the cream la cream of the society, and he used his influence. If there's no tomb today, they won't be talking about the resurrection, because there's no place to go and see that it's empty. Because what they would do, bring the body down from the cross, then dump them somewhere. But that didn't happen. So we must, as clergymen and as Christians generally, or wherever we are as human beings, we should use our position to better the life of people. Today, we are talking about resurrection, talking about the tomb, because that man played that singular act. Let me shock you. The book of John talks about Nicodemus that joined him to do that burial. And so these are people who were in position and used their position well. As clergymen, we stand advantage position because we preach and we speak, if not other days of the week, every Sunday, and we have population. Then we must use the pulpit to educate people, to enlighten people about how they should live in the country and how they should live and have a better life and their family life.
I will say, and that ends the program. that's quite profound. That's quite profound. I mean,
good place to anchor it.
Good place to anchor it.
Use your position, no matter what it is, to better somebody's life.
Wow. Reverend Dr. Victor Akirile, President, Lagos Central Baptist Conference of the Nigerian Baptist Convention. Thank you so much.
Thank you
for your time and your thoughts this morning.
Thank you for having me.
Okay. While Alera is still meditating on that, we'll take a short break. We'll be right back.
How did you guess?
Well, thank you so much for joining us again this morning. So here we are with this Easter, and are you over the other one?
Yes.
For now.
What I was thinking about was, no matter how little you think you are, no matter how inconsequential you think you are, there's some people still around you who are looking up to you.
Absolutely.
And it is your duty to reach out and actually help them.
Influence them one way or the other.
Or another.
Well, this morning on lifestyle, our conversation is perhaps related and maybe slightly different. Because, as you saw, we were supposed to talk about what now? Supposed to talk about music. But about technology. For whatever reason, we're unable to do that right now. However, we want to talk about music and the role it plays at a time like this. Alera, what's your favorite kind of music? Do you have one?
Do I have?
A favorite kind of music?
Actually, a lot depends on my mood.
Okay. So you're in the Easter mood?
Yes. One, I love hymns.
Okay.
I'm older now, so I think I'm more sensible. When I was younger, the main reason I went to church was to go and sing. I don't have a beautiful voice, but I love to sing hymns.
Okay.
I can do classical music.
How is classical music different from hymns?
Oh, okay, all right. Mabino. I can do love songs.
Okay.
Of course, in that area, Lionel Richie just takes the biscuit. Then I can take what we used to call in those days progressive jazz.
I'm hearing that.
The Bob Jameses, the Eric Gales, I can do those too.
If you're in the same school of thought as Alero this morning, let's see how important that is to you at Easter. Because, one thing that always stands out at Easter period is the music.
Hymns.
And there are those who call what they call Easter cantata, and all those things.
Oh dear.
Well, please let's have some conversation with this morning with music therapist Caleb Eguero. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
You've listened to.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for having. Thank us for having you
again. Okay, the second time. That's what she said. Thank you so much, man.
So you've listened to her.
Yeah.
We could go on and on about all kinds of music.
Yeah.
But she says Easter mood she can listen to just about anything. And she has also classified her taste for music based on age. Is that significant?
Yeah, it is. Because like you said, the older you grow, the things that you're looking out for in music differs. You're looking out for the impressions that the music creates in you, because we play music to reflect our state per time. Whatever song we play, to a large extent, that's how you're feeling on the inside of you. So you find on the outside what reflects your inner state. That's where song comes in. For instance, if I'm in a reflective mood, I won't play something that is on the upbeat, because it's contrast to how I feel. And so this season for us as Christians, we're in reflecting mood. So the songs that we play should, in a way, help us to reflect very well. So what she said was very, very profound. So
it's not a time for spiritual warfare?
No, we're not warfare, no. We're not doing that now. We're in a victory season. Victory season, yeah. Christ conquered, he defeated the devil. And here we're celebrating. It's a time for us to give thanks, to look at all the things he did for us. So we take songs that help us to reflect those injunctions.
I'm going to provoke a few things,
Please
Caleb.
The Hallelujah chant.
Okay. Yes. Why does the Hallelujah chorus seem to be more prominent at a time like this?
Yeah, because
celebration.
Yeah, Hallelujah chorus. It's not just music. I think someone was able to capture the experiences that happens in heaven.
Oh.
So it resonates with everybody because we all came from heaven. So when the heavenly sound is being played, we are reminded of, oh wow, there's something about heaven. Because it's not just Hallelujah chorus is relevant across board, but Easter and Christmas. That's one of the songs that fit into Easter, fitting into Christmas at the same time. Contextually, it can be used for Easter, it can be used for
resurrection, Christmas, birth. Same song.
So the same song. That's one of the songs over time that cut across both. There are two different contexts. Easter is one, Christmas is another one. But Hallelujah chorus fits in between both. Because of the way it was written and the message it carries, like part of the things we're talking about. The message of Hallelujah chorus is vast. It's not just uni. It cut across the birth of Christ, his victory, his royalty, how he was enthroned, how he will be enthroned, everything about Christ. And so it cut across. That's why it's played at all time, at all seasons of the Christian, because our Christian faith has so many seasons. There are times where we have to reflect on his birth, his death, then his life, his suffering. Everything is, that's what they call the passion. All is reflected in Hallelujah chorus. So that's oratorio piece. Everything is written there. Is that also why in some environments they believe to sing it you have to be standing? Yeah, you have to. I think it's a practice that came when it was first performed. That was the practice that came with it when it was performed, because people were wild, so they stood up. So it became a norm that when Hallelujah chorus is performed. But I wonder if everyone that listens to Hallelujah chorus that stands up understand what that actually means. It's like, okay, wow, this is beautiful. Then it communicates. We're not just being wowed by music, but there's a lot of communications going on about just, how can a song just capture everything about Christ. So wow, this is beautiful. People stood, but not just okay when they are and everybody just standing up. If you don't know what it means, just the people are not Christian, just stand just to observe. It's not like a moment of silence that we're observing. Let's no, it's not. That's not what it's about. But it's almost become like a moment of silence where people just stand, okay, keep quiet. But no, it's just the message was well passed across by Andel Messiah.
Okay, now, one of the, and I'm glad you started on that note, talking about, the import of the music and all of that. But, the interesting question on my mind now is, because there are a number of people at home watching us right now. Some are not watching, some are just listening to whatever. No. What role, really, does music play on the faith lifestyle of anyone? People listen to music for diverse reasons.
Sure.
Well, Alera has told you why she listens to certain music. But there are those who listen to certain music because someone else is listening to the music, not because they feel like it.
Yeah.
So, is there a place, an essence for music on faith and the lifestyle of faith that anyone wants to live?
Yeah, I would say capital yes to that. Last time I came here, I spoke about music and its intention, what it is intended to do. There's a correlation between music and faith. One of the ways music help us outside of faith now, it helps us to learn. Educational-wise, music helps children to do well in the academics. That is just music outside of faith. If music is very impactful outside of faith, then faith can also music can also have its place in faith. Now, what does it do? The teachings that we go through in our churches, Martin Luther King, not the American president now, but the German preacher, has a whole lot of things to say about music and theology. Part of the things he said, next to the text that we study in the world in church is music. And he said, when we put sound and theology together, music and theology serve redemptive function. Now, because people learn through music what they may not be able to learn through teaching. So we can use music to establish a truth. We can use music to also think about a truth or a concept. So part of the things music does for us is that we use that, it's a platform to teach truth, doctrines. Now, when we talk about salvation, there are songs that comes to mind. Now, if we write songs around salvation, so if someone may not have the opportunity to listen to a pastor preach about salvation, because we are all glued and drawn towards music, we could send a message across to that person through music. And music is something that brings everybody together. So we use music in faith to learn our faith, to understand our faith, because one of the things that music does for us is that people behave based on what they believe. So we can use music. Music is being used most of the time to establish belief systems. If it's doctrine, or if it's from scriptures. Every religion has its own kind of music. It cuts across. So definitely, for instance, now we're in Easter season. Part of the things music does for us is a forum for which we can associate. If I start singing a song right now, you want to join in because it represents what you stand for. Outside of the things we teach in church, your belief system is also reflected in your songs and the kind of songs you play. So definitely, there's no way someone like me now will play a song that doesn't teach scriptures. So we can use, music plays a very, very strategic role in helping to shape faith and define faith and help us to associate where we belong in this faith movement. Definitely, you never hear any Islamic song from my mouth because that's not my faith. So the song I sing is a reflection of my faith and my stand and my belief and the teachings and the doctrines that governs my faith.
I'm happy you used the word strategy.
Yeah.
So it plays a strategic
role, yeah.
But the expectation naturally then would be, if music is that strategic and integral to faith, then those who profess faith with the quote-unquote indoctrination of music that they have used to buffer their faith and their belief system shouldn't really act or behave outside their beliefs. I mean, that's something you said just now, that music, your behavior is informed by your beliefs. If that is the case, then we shouldn't have any hatred in the world, should we?
Good.
So it means then that Alera, why are you laughing?
No, you've taken my mind back to what we discussed.
Previous conversation.
Yes. Love.
Yeah, I mean, so
1 Corinthians 13.
If the crux of the Christian faith, which season we're celebrating now, is love, and most of the songs in the faith goes one way or the other in that direction, and belief informs behavior, then what is missing?
Now, what is missing is this. We don't know, because one of the things that is so the downside of music is that because it's a fusion of text and tune, most people that we see that listen to music, they love the tune, but not what the message is saying.
Okay, now.
So what makes music meaningful?
Some don't even have a message.
Don't have a message, so definitely. So how you craft your message and how you set it to tune, that's where the thing is. For this generation that we are in, we love songs not because it really makes sense. We just love the tune. But for all, in our faith, we should focus more on what is the message in this song I'm listening to. Then what kind of garment, that's what music does, a garment that used to clothe your ideas, your write-up. And so if we do that, so we know we're not raised to think, because we understand that music affects you in 3 ways. It affects you cognitively, it affects you emotionally, and also motor skills. When I listen to a song, I learn something, then I feel a particular way, then I do something, motor skills, you want to move your body. But the truth be told is that if we pay attention to the text of what the music is saying, I believe that music will have that advantage of that benefit of helping us to behave better. But we just listen for listening's sake. So what we advocate is that we should not just take songs. We should look at the writer of the song. Okay, does this communicate something? And what is it communicating? The truth should not be hidden. The truth should be truth. It doesn't have to be scattered everywhere, but I should know the truth in this song. So what we need to say is that when we look at song, we should learn to listen. We hear songs, but we don't listen to songs.
Hearing and listening
are two different things.
I agree with you on that.
Yes.
But let's go back to Alero.
Yeah.
While she was in her prime, a fifth of Beethoven was funkified. You remember that song?
Yeah.
I forgot the name of the artist now who did that song, and I mean it was on the dance halls and all of those things. That didn't have any message per se. It was instrumental. It was feel good. So then, how does that kind of music help to speak in a way that will inform behavior?
Now, if I've listened to the original sound before, whenever that tune is played, it's a reminder to what I've listened before, so I can reflect again. But if I've not learned that song before, I've not heard it before, then it's a little bit different. A little bit different. That is where the spirit of the writer now comes. What that music can be used to do anything, but that's not what the writer. That's not the intention of the writer, of the composer. And so, because music goes beyond words, it's about function of, like I said, words and tune. And so, in that instance, music is a reminder of past experiences, of past informations, of things that you have learned in the past that you can apply presently.
But that's not to say that all music have vocals or
no, some
words.
Instrumental music. Yeah.
Some are instrumental.
And
so
they still carry messages.
You still carry messages. Yeah.
So what? How do you decode those messages?
Now, to do that, you must a little bit musically inclined and be glued to music, because, for instance, when I play something on the strings, for instance, I'm not communicating violence. I'm communicating reflections. Every instrument has its implications. If, for instance, you want to go to a war battle, the trumpet is synonymous with time for war, victory, let's add Harry King or something. Every of those instruments have what they implies by sound. And so what they imply by sound is the message that they carry or what they are preaching. So for instance, if you hear the drums, it's telling you about something that has to do with dance movement. So even whilst there's no lyrics on the sound from the drums, once you start hearing drums, it's just simplify. Okay, we're talking about rhythms, movement of the body. So when I hear string or piano functions both. It can be for reflective, it can be for different reasons. So sound in a way passes the message across without. I think this song that somebody will study music called music without words. You can actually have meaningful music without words. So, but that part of music, that type of music, communicate more with your emotion, not your cognitive. So you're sending sound, you're sending a message to your system through your emotions, not cognitive, because there's no word to think about. But there's a feeling to reflect on that create a picture. So you derive the meaning of the sound from how you feel, how it's making you feel. So in that case, you will not have one message from that song. It varies, so based on how you feel. So whatever you come up with from that kind of music, it depends on how you feel, how you feel the music, how you perceive it. So you can get a message from the sound.
So what you're saying is that your reaction to that music is subjective.
Yes, very subjective, not objective, very subjective. Very, very subjective.
Okay, so what kind of music Okay, we're talking about faith music and not just any kind of Christianity or
faith.
It could be so long as it is faith.
Yeah.
Okay. What is supposed to be the function of faith music on lifestyle?
Okay.
Irrespective of what faith it is. We know that generically, all faith preaches peace.
Yeah.
All faith preaches love and all of that.
What
is supposed
to be the function
of faith music on anyone's life?
First, to teach doctrines. The function of music is to teach doctrines and belief systems. 2, as a means of expression. When every faith that is practiced on earth has a kind of music that's associated with them. In Islamism, they have their songs. In Hinduism, in Buddhism, they have their song. In Christianity, we have the so. It's a means of expression. And what we have from research is that music helps people to express themselves more than any other means, through any other means. So music is very effective when it comes to in terms of its expression. So help teach faith, doctrines, establish doctrines and teach faith. Then also helps to as a means of expression of your faith. Then 3, is a means of preserving truth. The songs the hymns that were written in the 14th century, these were truths and revelations that were captured then that has been preserved. We might have forgotten how they said it, but the fact that it's captured in song and lyrics and tune, it's one of the ways to preserve. So the function of music cut across, but I just want to sum it down to these 3 functions: as a means to teach truth, as a means of expression, then as one of the ways to capture a truth for preservation of truth and belief system doctrines.
How does one identify the kind of music to listen to for himself? There's something you said the other time that might help someone to know, because we asked a question when you said belief informs behavior, and music is a way of reinforcing beliefs, in one. If belief is enforced or reinforced by music and it informs behavior, how come people are still behaving differently? Perhaps that's to say there is faith music, there is what some will call inspirational music, and then there are those who are neither faith nor inspirational. So would you be in any way recommending a quota? Because we can't do without... Alero, why are you laughing?
I was thinking about reggae.
Yeah.
Would you be recommending or suggesting a quota that, okay, this quota of music, faith music is good for you, this quota of non-faith music is safe for you, and all of those things?
And also recommend when you can listen to each of them, which is the best time to listen to them, to have any meaningful effect.
Okay.
Or should I say actionable effect?
Yeah, like I said the last time we were talking about the therapy study and discussion, is that we must be intentional about, like, when you want to read a book, you don't just read at random. I need to improve on my people's skill. I look for books in that area that talk about people's skill and people's management. I read. But if you don't know what you need, the problem is that we don't know what we need part-time. What do you actually need to learn? Where are there deficiencies in your life as a person that you need to upgrade? So music becomes relevant when of late I've not been too patient with people. So look for songs that talks about patience.
So essentially you're saying people should be deliberate.
Deliberate. We're not deliberate. That's the problem we're having. So it's at random, and nobody learns anything at random. You can't learn this, no. What are you looking at for? What do you want to learn? What are you, what's the frame of your thoughts? What's the predominant thought right now? So areas where you need to grow up, area where you need to let go. So that's where music becomes relevant. The intention of music is not just to give you something to just carry you along. It's to do something to your conscience, prick your conscience in a way, affect you in a particular way. But we don't see that happen anymore because it's at random. Just something to keep me, so we use it as a work song. As I'm busy, let me just have something by my side to accompany what I do. That is one of the functions of music. But when you subject music to just work songs, it's not really impactful. So what you need to do, be intentional about what you listen to, because it's for you to also learn. Music is the platform to learn, to share ideas, then so give you voice to express. You express something. So if you're not intentional about it, anything just going. So at that instance, the music is not affecting you. It's not doing anything to you. It's just accompanying, just accompanies. But music is meant to leave a message with you, influence your behavior.
So sometimes, well, essentially you're saying whether you are conscious of it or you are not conscious of it, music is influencing.
It's influencing you, definitely. It's influencing you because, like we said about believing, behaving. But before believing, there has to be hearing. So music, until you hear something, you will not think about something and you will not do something. So as you're hearing something, whether you like it or not, you are believing something, consciously or unconsciously. Definitely you're going to do something.
I was telling my kids once, I said to them, music is a kind of coding mechanism.
You're profound.
Really?
Yeah, profound.
So people, whether you are conscious about it or you are not, you are being programmed to do something.
Yeah.
So what then are the risks we run when we are not deliberate?
And that's what you see in our society, even including Christians. You see people, they come to church, worship God, do a manner of stuff, but get into their car, play music that is totally contrast to the experience they just had in church. Now, and the latest information will always override the former one if you're not careful. And so definitely, you see people breaking traffic lights, people drive against traffic, we drive one way, Christians from church, because what we have heard, the new information that we're absorbing is overriding, and because it's coming through music, it becomes more powerful, because text on their own, lyrics on its own is powerful, but when you throw it inside music, it becomes more powerful.
Because it has a repetitive power.
So even when we hear messages from our religions, whatever faith we practice, once it is turned into a song, it becomes a weapon. I can easily forget what you said, but if it's turned into song, it goes into all my fibers, so I can recall the messages and I'm going to respond based on that. So we must be very careful what we listen to and be intentional about how we listen to songs. There's also, if we add anything to that, let's think through what we hear. Let's look out for the lessons. But that is if those songs are written with the intention of lessons, or written to just make money, put it on the air, have a lot of YouTube followers, make money out of it. Because that's one of the things we are running right now, because most of the things that are our airwaves, they are not for lessons. Like Mommy was saying, in our own era, there are songs that were written for just to bless society, just teach us good values. Make you day look well before you cross. And now Goli, look your left, look your right. No, these are songs that teach something. So if you want to cross the road, anytime I want to cross the road, that song always came in my mind. Look your left, look your right. That was some 30-something years ago. Because it's not gospel, it's not this, but it teaches something that, please, before you cross the road, as simple as that could be, the value.
And another value that has been taught recently is, nobody go dey where money no dey.
Look at that.
Your low maku, it's a lie. Ma fi billing pa me.
Billing.
Imagine. That's the area we're in.
Sorry?
That's the area we're in.
Because, but one would say that teaches as well, because some people believe that you just have to give until you are dry. And once you are dry, they look for the next book.
Next person. Of course.
So, but the challenge here, one of the challenges that I see that I'm hoping we'll be able to correct with this conversation is people always go with pop music, popular music, whether it is teaching anything or not. Please, how can we draw that balance? And that's the question that she raised. How can we draw that balance? Because we can't say that people shouldn't listen to secular music, so to speak. But what should people be looking out for when we listen to music, whether it's faith music or not?
Part of the things our age is experiencing, because values are not there anymore. Values are not there. Who raised you? How were you raised? Definitely, if you are raised well, be you whatever person you are, if you are raised well, that will also influence what you do. And so core values are not, in our society, we are going to lack values, irrespective of faith. So part of the things we need to go back to before we even talk about music and value it has to people is that, how are people being raised? How are they schooled? Who are their parents? Who are their influencers? Because it will always have an adverse effect in the music. It will. Because if you see what is going on in our environment right now, go back to the history of these guys. A lot of our people that are writing the kind of vocal songs that we're seeing right now is that they were not raised properly. Because you see that there's mass destruction right now in the society because people are violent, people don't know how to respect anymore. So I cannot write a song, be secular or gospel, if that communicates what I don't practice. So what I write is a reflection of why I think.
Speaks a lot about
them. So I'm writing me. I'm writing me. I'm not just writing a song. Please get it. I'm not just writing a song. I'm writing me. So that's it. So the first thing we need to do is let's go back to the times where the environment, where there are core values, where people live based on value, high principle, they live on standard, they live some things you don't do. It's not because you're a Christian, no, it's just not ethical. It's not just right to do. We're fellow human beings. So then you say, we'll start having good songs in the atmosphere. It doesn't need to be Bible. But lessons from the Bible can be crafted into songs.
Well, you also talked about, popularity the other time. You spoke about where do we place where's the place of peer pressure here? My friends are listening to this music. I want to be able to talk when they are talking. Where do we draw that balance? I mean, you've spoken about how people are raised and all of that, but there are those who would say that's neither here nor there.
Peer pressure is not because of this. Why are you doing what you do? Don't forget that legacy is something that will speak after time. For instance, Bob Marley, for instance, look at his song. That guy has been gone for a long time.
You are talking about old people.
No.
How about the 20-year-olds, the 13-year-olds, the 25-year-olds today?
The funny thing about it, there are guys that are also pulling stunts positively across the globe, because based on how they were raised. So if we search for people that are doing stuff within their 20s, there are people that they are in the minority, because the music that has nothing to offer is propagated, so it's everywhere. So it becomes popular. When something is popular, what value are these popular songs adding? Because let's check the message, and because definitely, how well are we influenced to do good things from the popular songs that we have? It's popular, but it's not making any impact in terms of helping us to behave better.
Oh, it's making some impact. It's
but negative way.
Enriching some people's bank accounts.
That's not really impact.
It is impact.
That's financial impact. For them. It does for them. The posterity. When this world changes and where things are done properly, will that song be relevant in the next 50 years? Just imagine our world changes right now, where they have good value systems everywhere. Those songs cannot fit in anymore. So what's the popularity is not relevant anymore. But good message will always be relevant anytime, any day, anywhere.
And we're still listening to Fela.
We're listening to Fela.
Unfortunately. Not because Fela's music, or because you spoke about the place of instruments and all of that. That's amazing music, but it's sad that 40 years on, some of the messages that he preached those many years ago, they're still sadly relevant. Caleb, we could go on and on with you again. We'll have to post this till another time. Thank you for being here this morning. Caleb Aguero is a music therapist and has spoken about faith, the effect, and I already put it the other time, the relevance of faith to
music to faith.
To faith life. Thank you so much.
My pleasure, sir.
Before we go, we got a reaction from Dr. Samuel Uhier regarding the Easter thing, and he says, Easter is the queen of feasts. It predates Jesus' resurrection and only feast recorded in the Bible, Acts 12, 1-6. Easter is the celebration of the goddess of fertility, called Eostre, with egg as its symbol. Jesus' resurrection on Easter Sunday took the shine off the celebration of the fertility goddess, and Jesus became the reason for the celebration as it obtains in the celebration of Christmas.
So now we don't have that one again, we now have this one.
Yes, sir.
Okay. That's another resurrection altogether. We're back after now for the home stretch. Please stay with us.
No condition is above his.
Thank you for staying with us this far. This is the home stretch, actually. And, well, we have one of those people. You know the ones I mean.
I don't know the ones.
This one studied microbiology from Babcock University.
For daddy or for mommy?
Probably for daddy. And after doing all that, he's now a comedian. Can you imagine? Besides, he's a prince. Prince Oriyomi Olayinka Oniru is a comedian after studying microbiology.
AKA 16 Oniru, please. You have to. The brand name is very, very.
The brand name is 16 Oniru. Prince, welcome.
Thank you, ma. Good to be here.
Microbiology.
Yes, ma.
Comedy.
Yes.
16 Oniru.
There are other things too.
Oh, please.
There's acting, there's talking drum. Yes.
Where is the talking drum?
I didn't bring it.
Oh, no, you should have. You should have brought everything and showed us the whole array. First of all, what is a prince doing in comedy?
Well, this man or this prince just happened to be one with so much humor, and I think I carry the burden of so many funny people in my family who just, they're just okay to make everybody laugh when we're in family circles. So I think I carry all their burdens, and then I decided to go.
You mean there are many mad people in your family?
No, not mad.
I don't know. This one, I hereby deny you. Because you are calling a whole prince.
I apologize. No.
Not mad. Just.
You call them mad.
No. You are far from our husband, so you are protected.
I'm safe. Thank you.
If you are on a new property now, we would have seized the land.
Throw me out, out cold. Then I would learn my lesson. 16 Oniru. 16.
Yes.
Why 16? Why not 2 Oniru?
Wow. Okay. Now that you mentioned 2. 16 Oniru because I had to do a listing of all my father's children.
Oh.
And
Your number 16.
I found myself in the 16th position. And I had run with the name for like 2 years before I found out that I actually skipped a sibling that was older than me.
You actually 17 Oniru?
So yes, in reality, 17. But since we are not dragging for number, the brand stands.
You are number waiting son.
Number son, that would be number 8.
So your road is far to the throne.
It seems like that.
Oh,
no, we can still justify.
Have you made any jokes about that, by the way?
Oh, I can't be a prince and not make a joke about. Yes.
I'm not likely to be king.
Apparently, but my main anger is that coming from a royal family, and I'm a son, and I have a number of brothers. My first anger is that all of us have the same nicknames. Really? And that is Obalola. All of us.
Obalola. Oh, okay, king tomorrow.
Exactly, or heir apparent. So all my friends call me that. My brother's friends will call them that. And so when we all meet and somebody shouts Obalola, everybody looks. Which one are you calling?
Which one?
So at the end of the day, we are not like rivals. So
16 Oniru.
No, actually, I think we can justify 16 now. Just 8 raised to power 2.
8 raised to power 2.
Yes, now I'm just trying to microbiology.
Child, number 8 son. So the maths works.
It works, Abi.
So why did you study microbiology? For mom?
I think for myself. At the end of the day.
Oh.
At the end of the day, I think I was running away from chemistry. So it was either
Is there a big difference?
I did. Oh, microbiology is more biology than biochem, and so we study microorganisms. Tell about them, their economic importance, which is easy because you can read and pour that out.
So how relevant is all that now to comedy?
Well, if you look at microbiology and microphone, they're not too
Microphone.
They're not too far.
Please, what is microphone?
Microphone.
Microphone. I thought you said microphone. Okay.
My tool. Yes.
Oh, okay. They're all micro.
Yes. Yes.
So of all the music instruments, you play the microphone.
Of all the music instruments, I play the talking drum.
You play the talking drum with the microphone because you still have to mic.
There's so much micro around me.
How did you learn to play the talking drum?
Please don't tell me it is a royal drum.
No. No, I was in a drama troupe from 2007 to 2015 when I left the church where I was at the time. And 2007 when I joined, we were to have a dance drama, and there was no one within the group that could play talking drum, which we really needed. And so we had to go outside and hire someone. And I got really upset about that. It shouldn't be. If we say we are doing drama,
it became a challenge.
People should be able to at least play some instruments, because dance is part of drama. So we shouldn't have to go outside to look for people to do that. So I took up that challenge, and I learned the talking drum.
How long did it take you?
How long? I'm still learning. Like, there's no end to it. But I started in 2008, and I learned with someone. And after that, I played for 8 years. And then I went to look for another mentor, because I felt I wasn't okay with where I was. And I had to go look for someone who was born an Anyo, born into the Anyo family, an elderly person who is very vast. And I found one. And he's my great teacher and mentor today. Although there are two of them now that I run to every time I have issues. And
Anyo, what is his own name?
Anyo Lere Alajide.
I know him, Tunji Alajide.
No, not Tunji.
Oh, they are different.
Not Tunji. Anyo Lere Alajide.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, that's his name.
That's his name.
He still has those marks, Abi.
Yes, so yes, I wanted those ones with the marks, really.
Okay, so that's for the talking drum. How did you get into comedy? When and how?
I got into comedy, so it still started with this being part of a drama department in my church. And though I'd always been a very funny guy, but every time we ministered in a drama, you know, even when it's not deliberate, people would always find a reason to laugh from what we were presenting. And so sometime in 2010, I believe, because my church had the primary school and the receptionist was going to get married. And someone just called me from the church and said, our receptionist is getting married, or they need an MC. Do you think you'll be able to do it? And I looked. The only thing I had, the gifting I had, was to make people laugh. So I said, okay, no problem. But I had never MC'd an event proper. Luckily for me, the head of department for the drama team was an events videographer. So I ran to him and I said, please give me a coverage of a wedding that you did. And I took it and I watched how the MCs ran the floor of the event. And then I wrote everything they did when they called in the parents of the groom, parents of the bride, and how they ran everything. And I said, okay, so outside of this, I'm just going to infuse comedy. And that was how I started.
So that was your crash course?
That was my crash course.
Now, Prince.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm just wondering in my head now, who would be willing to pay a prince to come and MC an event?
No, you mean Able.
People pay.
Able. Thank you very much.
I just closed one event as I was coming here.
But if I had, for instance, an Ayo Makinde, and I had 16 Oniru, I wouldn't even ask 16 Oniru in the first place. Say, he's a prince.
I can't afford.
Ayo, please.
That means if we were to go by that, no prince will do business, because everybody will be.
No, we're not used to seeing princes.
We're
not used to seeing princes in this kind of. Princes are.
I'm not the only one. I'm not the only one. The king of comedy in Nigeria is practically a prince.
Who is that?
Ali Baba.
A prince of where?
Of Akbaroton in Delta State.
Ali? Well, you are now saying that you are a prince.
He's a royal.
I know you reach house, so in case you have forgotten.
He's a royal.
Hallelujah is a prince now.
Yes.
Okay.
He's not now.
Oh, he's always been a prince. I'm sorry. So how easy is it to employ a prince? Please.
It's not hard now. We discuss.
We discuss.
Where's your event?
Because we have to haggle.
Where is your event?
Because what the prince is going to charge me is not what Ayo is going to charge me.
You can't sell. I'm actually very generous.
You will.
Very, very generous.
But you are a prince now. Well, please, camera. It's a pity you can't pan it so that we can see his shoe. I mean, his shoe has his name. He's 16 Oniru. It's printed on his shoe. So how can we afford you?
You can. You can. You don't have to look the part so that I can convince you that I'm going to do the job too.
Right on, brother.
Okay.
Prince.
What's your most memorable joke that you can remember that people have told you about?
My most memorable joke, I think it's either the 16 Oniru joke itself, because I have to tell people every time I'm performing in front of a first-time audience why my name is 16 Oniru. So every time I have to tell that joke. And outside of that, it will be my marriage, because I celebrate my wedding anniversary daily.
Oh, really?
Yes. I married from Akwa Ibom, and they showed me shege. So because of I don't wait for 365. I celebrate every day.
Why? What did they show you that is so tough?
Is the bread price. Some of the my father-in-law is an Akwa Ibom man.
Okay.
And so when my wife told him that somebody is coming to marry him, and I marry her, and his name is Oniru, he went to search on Google for Oniru. And when you search Oniru on Google, you don't see people. What you initially see is price of land and houses in Oniru Estate. So that's what he saw, and he scrolled and scrolled and scrolled. All he was just seeing was real estate, and he got angry until finally he saw a picture of my dad, and next to the picture there was the Rolls Royce Phantom. And he read the caption that was under it. Daddy, if you are watching this is a joke. My father-in-law loves channels a lot, and he read the caption which said, Oba Abiodun Oniru acquires Rolls Royce Phantom worth $350,000 for 75th birthday. And immediately he saw it in Akwa Ibom and he spoke Yoruba. He was like, So yes. So those are things that I say that people remember me with. So every time I even go to an event, people, where's your wife? Because they now talk about that. Those that already know me, when they see me, where's your wife? So yes, those are the few.
I've also heard a rumor that comedians' wives are no less comedians themselves.
Oh, yes.
Oh, really?
Oh, yes. Yes.
So it has to take one to know one.
It does, apparently.
How does she...
All of us.
How does she impact you?
How does she impact? Well, first, she's my litmus test. She's my litmus kit. So
every joke you bounce off her.
So every joke I create, she's the first, but I never tell her it's a joke. So I tell her like, this is what I experienced while I was out today, and then I tell her the whole story, and when she laughs, then I tell her this is a joke. So I know that it's funny. Because if I tell her, my wife is a lawyer. If I tell her, come and listen to this joke, is it funny?
She will not laugh.
She would listen with the intent to scrutinize. So I just come, from that angle of this is what I experienced while I was out today. As you see, so once it ends in laughter, I know that the joke is funny. And when I tell her this is a joke, you caught me again. Write it.
Is there anyone that she has come and said, okay, why don't you do it this way? Why don't you do it?
Oh yes. Well, those would be jokes that I probably, I create on the spot, maybe from whatever is going on around us, and I just create this joke. You just no. This one is not funny, or don't go this way. Go this way. Yes.
How were you received at home when you decided I want to make comedy a thing?
So when I started comedy, I had a 9-to-5 initially.
Doing what?
I used to work for a dredging company.
Okay.
I used to work for a dredging company.
Microbiology, working in a dredging company.
Oh yes. So
all of this just
immediately I finished school. Nigerian employers are always looking for some form of experience, even for a fresh graduate. So someone advised that I should go and take a course in project management, which I did. And so I took a course in project management, but because I was a fresh graduate and I hadn't worked, I had to do the, would I call it subsidiary certification, which is called CAPM, Certified Associate in Project Management, as opposed to Project Management Professional. So I did that, and after that, I was able to secure a job on the dredging site, where I now worked as the site coordinator, overseeing everybody who worked on the site, and then reporting to the office. So I was like the intermediary between the office and the site.
Okay.
When the site workers have issues, they lay it on me, and then I lay it on the company.
And how long did you do that?
That was between 2011 and 2013.
2 years.
So I started comedy proper, I would say, in 2012, but I had started doing stuff in 2010.
So
did
how
you do
was
any
that?
stuff when you were in school, when you were in uni?
No, I was just a funny guy in my room and around my friends. Because even me, to myself, I'm a surprise that I do comedy, because I'm a very reserved person. So when I look at myself and I wonder how I got this gifting, it shocks me. Because people expect comedians to be, extroverted people, which I have some form of that nature, but I don't think it's the dominant part of me. I'm more of a reserved person.
Do you pay your siblings who influence your comedy?
Do
you pay them royalties? Because you said you carry the burden of all of them.
No, not burden now. That's like the gifting. Like I said, the number of funny people in-house, and they can't do this. Okay. So since I have always been someone who does drama, what's there to go on stage?
And you should be paying them royalties.
No, I didn't use their material, so I can't pay them. They are the ones who even pay me for showcasing the talent to the world. I'm making the world know that a prince can be funny and make people laugh.
Which one of them should be paying you more?
All of them should be paying me, actually. They should just put me on one honor roll, and say, for the talent.
Okay. You have your job cut out for you. So, what should we be expecting from 16 Oniru this year or anytime soon?
Well, the fastest thing that I can work on now is a skit series that I was doing, and I stopped because of lockdown. And I had to face some other things that have still consumed my time until now, because I've always been a kind of person. That's been my mindset.
What's that?
To stay home and make money.
Oh, okay.
Yes, make money from the comfort of your home. Because by the time I started getting or having a clear awareness of my dad was already a big-time investor, so he didn't need to go to work. The accountants used to come to him. Kabesi, this is how much we've made this month. So I felt this would be a good lifestyle. Unlike our firstborn saw my dad also as a civil engineer, and he saw him make money. So he decided to become a civil engineer. And the age difference between me and the firstborn is about 19 or so. So by the time I became aware, my dad was already a big-time investor, so he didn't need to be doing the going to office thing. He could just stay home and people were running. So that's what I saw. And I said, okay, I prefer...
That's good.
I prefer this one. Let's do Bele Pao.
That's good.
So that has taken some of my time from lockdown till now.
But you have to go out now to work.
Oh yes, no, I still work. I do, I have events that I anchor. I go to shows, I visit comedy clubs, I do comedy. And so you were saying what to expect from me. I'm saying the easiest thing I can run back to is the skit series. It's called Kola Nut. It's about the guy that graduated from school and he would not look for a job. So he's a thorn in the flesh of his father. So he frustrates the man a lot.
I'm assuming that will be on Instagram.
Oh yes, it is.
As
Kola Nut series. If you hashtag Kola Nut series, you see it.
Okay.
His name is Kola, so from Kola. Yeah, so call it Kola Nut.
16 Oniru, Prince Oriyomi Olayinka Oniru. Thank you very much for coming.
So happy to have you.
We've never had the pleasure of having a prince as our artist of the week.
I can recommend. I have a friend who is also a prince from Ekiti, who is a comedian. Feso Oyebade. Yes.
I can't even imagine Ekiti man comedian. I am trying not to imagine it.
When you think about it, most of the time they are professors, not so.
No, not just that.
This one is.
Have you heard an Ekiti man comedy. Okay.
And so the prince draws down the curtain on today's sunrise, aptly on Easter weekend. My name is Alero Edu, wishing you a very, very restful and happy Easter. See you next week.
And I'm Ayo Makinde. Have a wonderful rest of your weekend.